All right, hello. This recording is for my juniors, and I'm going to be going over the things that we'll be doing this week. So let's go ahead and get to it. There we go. I'm having a hard time this morning. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff to do this week. It's a pretty busy week. And also remember, it's a very short week. We have a holiday on February. We'll be celebrating Veterans Day. So if you have any veterans in your life, reach out to them, shower them with love and support, and then we'll come right back to class on Thursday. But this is what we're doing. So if you go to modules, now of course I'm looking at everything here from the teacher's perspective. So on your end, it'll look a little different. But if you go to your special interest blog module, you'll notice that there are 2 new assignments attached to the bottom of the module. Okay, the first is a discussion forum, and in this discussion forum, it is important for you to post a link to your blog address, tell me the topic that you're exploring with your blog, tell me about your blog's strengths, and then try to identify some of those places that you can grow. Where are those weaknesses at? How can you make your blog better? And of course, like any discussion, it's not complete until you at least make 2 comments to 2 other students' posts. And so this is one way that we'll be able to share our blogs with the rest of the class. You've already shared your blogs with me, but I don't want to hoard all that wonderful stuff by myself. I want you guys to share it with your classmates as well. Now, if you go to the next page, you will see our first blog peer review feedback form. So this is going to be the activity that we'll do together at the end of the week, and you will use this to grade your classmates' blogs. And so let me go ahead and open this. And so you'll be looking at something like this. And when we meet in our Zoom class, what we're going to do is we're going to get together into groups. And in your groups, you will determine, what you'll do is you'll list your name. You'll list the name of the author who made the blog that you're reviewing. So you'll pick one person, you'll choose their blog to review. You'll give me a copy to their web address, and you'll give me just a short 3-sentence description of what their blog's about. Okay, what do you see there? What's going on? Just describe it in 3 sentences. I'm not looking for anything really in depth here. Now below is the rubric, which you should already be familiar with. Remember, we want to earn exceeds on everything. Exceed shows that you have gone above and beyond the assignment expectations, whereas proficient, you're meeting those expectations, but if you're in the beginning or developing phase, you still have a lot of work to do. And so what you'll do is you'll look at your classmates' blog, and you will give them a score by highlighting what they earned. So if everything does look beautiful and they have a perfect blog, which isn't going to be a lot, we're still pretty early in this project, so I'd be very surprised if we have 1 exceeds. But what you'll do is you'll highlight that and you'll show them that that's what they earned. It also helps if you highlight the text in the box. And so, if they meet all of this criteria, go ahead and highlight it. But, you might want to give them a lower grade. Maybe they didn't earn an exceeds. Okay, maybe their blog is proficient, except the only thing that they're not doing right is that they're not updating the blog at least once a week at a consistent schedule. If you notice that, then what you would actually do, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that. We don't want that. What you would do is you would actually give them a developing score. You would highlight that, but you would look through the paragraph and you would only highlight the details that apply to that blog. So, with this hypothetical student, the only thing that they're not doing right is that they're not updating their blog once a week. So you would highlight that, and now they know the only thing keeping them from a proficient score is that they need to get to it. They need to update more regularly. And so down here, there's a blog review, and in this box, you're just going to give a review of the blog as if you're writing it for a newspaper. Okay, how well does the blog provide information on its chosen special interest topic? What can the author do to revise it and make it better? Give them some constructive criticism. Of course, like with any peer review activity, you want to keep your language academic. Okay, don't be mean. Don't be hateful. Okay, don't be rude. You want to be encouraging, and you want your criticism to be constructive. So that's that. And if by any chance you happen to be absent on the day that we're doing this activity as a class, what you would do instead is you would use this same form, but you would go back to our discussion and you will select one of the links that your classmates left, and you will just review their blog. And in the comment section, you will give them a link to your form, and they can read that and review that all the same. Okay, so that's what we're doing with our special interest blogs this week. Now, you're probably wondering how we're going to wrap up our work with the War of the Worlds. So we have only one more lesson remaining, and we're going to listen to the last bit of the excerpt. And so this last lesson, what we're really going to be focusing on here is our ability to spot fake news. And so I'm going to give you a lesson on that real quick. When you get a chance, watch this video. It goes over how technology has changed and how, finding and believing fake news is a lot more common than what it used to be. So you can watch that on your own time. But if you click the slides presentation right here, let me go ahead and open that. And it's not going to want to open easily, but I'll make it happen anyways. Let's see. Here we go. View, present. Okay. So I stole this. I stole this from EBSCO, which, if you guys are familiar with our school library, you know that we give you an account to EBSCOhost, which is a search engine for finding academic journals and resources that you can use on research papers. So they're good people. And I totally stole this PowerPoint presentation from them, and I don't feel bad about it. Ha ha ha. It's good. I'll share it with you. And so our learning goals from this lesson, I want you guys to be able to understand and question the truthfulness of articles and pictures that you find on the internet. I want you guys to familiarize with confirmation bias, and also just familiarize with your own confirmation bias. Understand how your biases and your beliefs can affect your decision-making skills. Another thing that I want you to be able to do is to, better identify fake news and fake images. So let's work on that. This slide kind of shows you the different spectrum of the most common news sources. And so this is actually a graph, and you'll see that, in these images, you see a whole bunch of different presentations. We have the Wall Street Journal, we have NPR, BBC. We have all of these publications here, and on this graph, it determines how well they are as far as journalistic quality goes. So we see the Atlantic and the Wall Street Journal and the Economist up here at the top, okay? Because they're not making big mistakes. They're not, posting information that's false. But, it gets a little shady down here. And this graph also works to kind of split and highlight the media biases that you'll see in all of these publications. Like, for example, if you see a publication that's on this side of the graph, it's going to be more right-leaning. It's going to, reflect more of a Republican conservative bias. Whereas if you look at the publications on this side, you'll have just the opposite. You'll see more of a left-wing, liberal, democratic bias with these news sources. And ideally, when you're looking for a source, like an article to trust, you want to stay right here in the middle. You don't like biases so much. You want people to report the truth as it happens. And, with the way that journalism has changed in this day and age, there are also other things to consider as well, okay? Each and every one of these publications is owned by somebody with lots of money, okay? They might be owned by a corporation. And so you also have to consider who owns them. So if your publication is owned by Nestle, and you do some journalistic research and you find that Nestle is stealing water in California, or Nestle is, making it impossible for mothers to breastfeed their children because they're selling them formula in impoverished developing countries. Maybe Nestle is using slave labor. Okay, well, if Nestle is the one that's paying your paycheck, if you happen to be a publication that's owned by Nestle, you're probably not going to write that critical piece on Nestle and publish it in your newspaper. You might get fired. And so you always have to understand too where the money lies. And it's a really, really difficult, challenging experience trying to weed out what news is real news. And my only encouragement to you guys is just to consume everything. All right. Take articles from all of these sources and compare them with each other and evaluate them, and do a little more research and read between the lines here. So you guys can look at that on your own. On the next slide here, we're going to talk a little bit about confirmation bias. And so this is something that we all have. We naturally, automatically want to believe what we want to believe in. And that's just part of human nature. And so you have to be really careful because that applies to how we take media in as well. We are naturally going to want to believe the publications that side with our own values. So it's important that you always question your biases, not just your confirmation biases, but all of your biases. And be careful not to tune out any information that might contradict your opinion, especially if it's valuable evidence. And so just to give you an idea of how confirmation bias works, we have two example articles right here. We have Article A and Article B. And, you know, I'll admit, I'm a righty. I use my right hand. And I have my own personal biases about being right-handed, okay? Being right-handed is better because that's what I'm used to and that's what I know. And so looking at Article A, just you can tell what the article is about by reading the title, and it says, "Right is Wrong, the Surprising Life Benefits of Being Left-Handed." And then over here, we see Article B, which I personally like a lot better because it says, "Dispelling the Myth of the Left-Handed Genius." All right, those lefties, they think they're so smart. They think they're geniuses. I know that's not true. I know that because I'm right-handed and I'm a genius. So I'm automatically going to want to believe this article instead of this article. But I can't do that. What I need to do instead is I need to read both articles and look at the authors, look at the publications that are presenting these sources, look at the evidence, look at the research, and do a little research of my own to determine how true these articles are. Okay? Even though I want to believe this one, I have to read them both and be critical of them both. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is evaluating the credibility of pictures. And Photoshop, it's a really cool tool. And you can see this is obviously a Photoshopped image right here. We see what looks to be a flooded city street. And lunging forth from that flooded water is an orca. Now, we know this is probably Photoshopped. I mean, just look at the picture by itself. We can see that the picture of the orca seems a little grainy compared to, you know, some of these branches that we see in the trees. We can see that, you know, its shadow, that could have been easily Photoshopped. That could have been easily blurred in there. I mean, it's obvious somebody cropped out this orca whale and just slapped it in there. And we also know, too, that the river water probably is only like about a foot deep. And, I mean, that's not enough for an orca to swim in, let alone enough for them to launch themselves out of the water. Okay, they're pretty heavy. And so there are a few tricks that we can use for testing the credibility of pictures. And also note too that when I'm talking about pictures, you know, maybe the picture isn't photoshopped, but it can still be untrue. And it can still tell a story that's untrue. And so this is an example right here. We see our soldiers standing guard in front of the tomb of the unknown soldier. And we see that they're in the rain, and it looks absolutely damp and miserable out there for these poor gentlemen. And there's a photo caption that joins this picture that claims that this picture was taken in the middle of Hurricane Sandy. But that's not true. If you do research, you'll find out that this picture was actually taken at a different time during a different rainstorm. And so what you can do to test the validity of these pictures is you can do something called a reverse image search. And like, say for example, we have this picture of the Fukushima nuclear flowers. Okay, but we don't know if these flowers are actually, you know, misshapen because of nuclear radiation, or maybe it was just an honest genetic defect that happened to the flowers, you know, over their life cycle. And so what we could do is we can do something called a reverse image search. So what we would do is we would go onto Google, and you can just type in reverse image search. And the first one that'll pop up is this one called TinEye. This is a good one. And what you would do is you could just, like, you know, click upload, and you can pull a picture from your computer. I'm going to pull a picture of this, what looks to be an alien riding a cupcake here. And it'll upload your picture, and it'll tell you everywhere online that you can find my picture of an alien on a cupcake. Okay, you can find it here. You can also find an image that's close to it. from this one woman's Twitter. I don't know who she is, and I'm not going to click on that. But yeah, so there's only one result, and I can find that original picture by clicking that link, essentially. And so that's one way that you can check and see if the picture has been photoshopped or if the story behind the picture is just false. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is clickbait. And so clickbait, these are common ads that you'll find in popular websites, and you have to be really careful with these because they look and appear like they're a real article, but they're not. They're a trick. So what's really nice if you own a popular website is that you can put ads on your website, and every time somebody clicks an ad, you get money from it. However, these don't work like regular ads. They work to appear like articles, and they might have, you know, some crazy claim in them. 10 ways to get rich quick. Okay, 20 ways to kick your lazy boyfriend out of the house. 7 ways to lose that stubborn belly fat. You know, usually they contain like a number in them or something. But, you know, they have these catchy pictures and these catchy titles. You click them, and it takes you to something that is completely false, something that is completely untrue, something that is not legit. And the only thing that happened was that the person who owns the website got a little more ad revenue because you fell for this trick and you clicked this link. You see? So just be aware of clickbait, be aware of what you click. You know, in that third slide that I showed you on this presentation, you know, make sure that you're getting your news information from most of those sources and you'll be good. Not all of them. The ones at the bottom are bad, remember. Anyways, right here, this is a video on fact checking that the guys at Crash Course did. I encourage you guys to watch this on your own time. It's about 10 minutes long. But they give you some helpful tips on checking the facts. Now, what I want you to take away from this lesson. Okay, in order to check for fake news, okay, you need to read beyond the headline. You can't just limit yourself to what the title says. Okay, read at least the first 2 or 3 paragraphs to get a better idea as to what the story is about. Consider the source. Okay, are you getting your source from a reputable news source? Or, you know, are you pulling it from just some rando's blog? Check about the author and the photographer. Who's behind the work? Okay, if they're a real journalist, they are going to have some information about them if you Google their name. Okay, you'll be able to find their website, their portfolio, if they're a photographer. You'll be able to find out where they work and maybe how to email them. So, you know, do a little background sleuthing. Find their background information. If you're looking at an article, it's important to also check the date. Okay, older stuff will contain more inconsistencies in there as far as facts go. And also make sure that the links in the pages aren't broken. Okay, if you're taken to an article and the links just don't work, the links to their sources don't work, it might not be credible. You might want to stay away. Other things to help recognize fake news, check the comments section. Okay, I do this all the time. I really like getting my news off of Reddit because we have multiple users from around the world who are pulling in bits and pieces of different articles from different publications, and they're sharing it with a wider audience. And it's usually underneath these articles that you can find a comment section where people pick apart the articles. And so if there's something wrong, if it's fake news, or if there's an inconsistency in its research, some schmo like myself who always has to be right, they're going to jump in the comment section and they're going to rip it apart. And so you can familiarize with their comments and the research that other people have already done and use that to launch your own research to check the validity of that article. You might also want to ask yourself if it's a joke. Satire's a thing, people. And so you may have familiarized with The Onion, the Babylon Bee, some of these other satirical news sites. They're satire, so they're supposed to be fake, okay? They're supposed to be fake because it's supposed to be entertaining, okay? This is intentional fake news. It's supposed to be a joke. It's supposed to be funny, and I like them. I personally like them. Also ask about your own confirmation bias. Remember what we said? You always want to be checking your biases. You always want to make sure that your beliefs aren't clouding your judgment. And if you're not sure about a picture, conduct a reverse image search. And so that's my lesson on fake news there. Of course, you know how to reach me if you have a question. So we're almost done here, but for the rest of this week, we're going to finish our last excerpt of the War of the Worlds broadcast. We'll listen to this together in class. Make sure that you annotate the script and you turn in your annotation. That gives me a lot of valuable information about what you can read. Also, remember to answer the reading comprehension questions on 3.4.3. And at the end of this lesson, you'll see that there's a discussion here. And you'll have to answer the prompt about how the War of the Worlds broadcast might qualify as fake news. That's something that you'll have to determine on your own. And of course, like every discussion, it's not complete until you at least comment on 2 of your classmates' posts. Make sure you do that. So because it's the end of the module, we have our big final test. We have our big summative assessment. Now, this is not due on Monday like everything else is. This is actually due the following Monday on November 23rd. And so what you're going to do is you're going to complete a CER paragraph on the War of the Worlds, and you have the chance to choose one of these claims. Okay, the War of the Worlds broadcast is not an example of fake news or is an example of fake news. You have to pick one. You can choose to write about how the War of the Worlds broadcast is not a good example of a radio drama, or it is a good example of a radio drama. Or you can make a claim talking about the theme of the broadcast. And so what you'll do, just like we've done before, you'll fill out this CER chart. For the claim, you don't have to write anything down. You just need to highlight the claim that you're choosing and provide evidence from the play and from all the things that you've learned. If you want to use evidence from any of the articles we've read, any of the poems we read, maybe you want to pull some evidence from the documentary I sent you, you're welcome to use that in here to support your reasoning. And this is where your reasoning goes. And when it's all said and done, you'll come down here and you will write at least a 2-paragraph mini analysis of the War of the Worlds broadcast. And what I want you to do specifically is make a claim about the theme and support it with evidence. And you can use your graphic organizer as a starting point if that's something that you're doing. Now, I know that some of us are having a hard time submitting in 2 files at once. And it doesn't make any sense to me because some students can turn in multiple files and then some students can't. So if you find that it won't for some reason take both of these assignments, what I want you to do is I want you pretty much just to copy and paste your paragraph down here and just put it at the bottom of this document and submit this document. So if you have any issues with that, reach out to me and I can help you. But yeah, that's pretty much it for our assignments this week. Of course, you know, I'm here to help you. We have a lot of time that we have in class for individual work time. Please reach out to me during that time if you need help. And that's it. Thank you for watching and have a good week.